and were all Grade 2 hikers, meaning they were experts in mountain survival, trained for exactly these kinds of harsh conditions. Their goal was to reach Ural Mountain, a peak deep within the northern Urals. The expedition started normally. They traveled by train, then truck, then finally began their trek on skis into the vast, empty wilderness. But their choice of location was the first strange piece of this puzzle. They were only about a mile from the tree line, where the forest would have offered them vital shelter from the wind and snow. Instead, for reasons unknown, they pitched their tent on the exposed frozen mountainside. That was their last known decision. It was the last time anyone saw them alive. Their final photograph, taken from inside the tent, shows a faint blurry orb of light in the distance. And then silence. When the group failed to send their scheduled telegram on February 12th, nobody was immediately worried. Delays were common in such expeditions. But as days turned into weeks, concern grew. By February 20th, a full-scale search and rescue operation was launched, involving fellow students, teachers, and eventually the Army and Air Force. On February 26, a search party spotted something on the desolate slope. It was the group's tent, half buried and shredded. The discovery was the beginning of the horror. The tent wasn't torn by an animal or an attacker from the outside. It had been sliced open with a knife from the inside. The hikers had cut their way out, as if in a desperate, panicked rush to escape something within their own shelter. All their belongings, warm clothes, boots, food and survival gear were left behind. Leading away from the tent, down the slope, were the footprints of 8 or 9 people. The tracks told a chilling story. Some were wearing only socks. Others were completely barefoot. One person was wearing a single felt boot, and here's where it gets even stranger. The footprints showed they were running or fleeing in a chaotic scramble. They were walking calmly, deliberately. They walked side by side down the slope, away from their only shelter and toward certain death in the minus 30 degrees Celsius weather, about a mile away from the camp, under a giant cedar tree at the edge of the forest. The searchers found the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Oshenko. They were stripped down to their underwear. The skin on their hands was torn, and the branches of the cedar tree above them were broken up to 5 meters high. It appeared they had frantically tried to climb the tree, perhaps to get a better view of the tent, or to escape something on the ground. Nearby were the remnants of a small, hastily made fire. They had frozen to death, trying to stay warm. 3 more bodies were found between the cedar tree and the camp at different intervals. Igor Dyatlov, the group's leader, Zina Kolmogorova, and Rustim Slobodin. They were found lying in the snow, face down, seemingly trying to crawl back toward the safety of the tent they had fled. They were better dressed than the first two, but still inadequately for the blizzard. They, too, had died of hypothermia. Slobodin had a small fracture in his skull, but it wasn't considered a fatal injury. At this point, the official explanation was shaping up to be a tragic but understandable accident. But the worst was yet to be discovered. For over 2 months, the search continued for the final 4 hikers. Finally, on May 4th, they were found buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine, not far from the cedar tree. And this is where the mystery deepens into a true horror story. Unlike the first 5 who died of hypothermia, these 4 had suffered devastating internal injuries. Nikolai Thibobriniolus had a massive skull fracture. Alexander Zolotaryov and Ludmila Dubanina had multiple symmetrically broken ribs. The doctor who performed the autopsies stated that the force required to cause such damage was equivalent to being hit by a high-speed car. It was a crushing, immense pressure. But here is the most baffling part. There were no external bruises or soft tissue damage corresponding to these injuries. No skin was broken. It was as if their bones had been shattered by some invisible force while their skin remained untouched. And then there was Ludmila Dubanina. She was found kneeling in the running water of a small stream in the ravine, her head thrown back. She was missing her tongue, her eyes, and parts of her lips and facial tissue. The official report stated these were likely removed by scavenging animals and natural decomposition in the wet environment. But to many, this explanation seemed too simple for such specific and gruesome injuries. To make things even more bizarre, the clothing of some of the hikers found in the ravine tested positive for significant levels of radioactivity. Where did it come from? For over 60 years, the Dyatlov Pass incident has been a breeding ground for theories, ranging from the plausible to the paranormal. Could it have been an animal attack, like a bear or a yeti? Did the hikers accidentally stumble into a military testing zone for a new type of concussive or radiological weapon? The theory goes that a slab of heavy snow slid onto the tent while they were sleeping, causing the severe internal injuries to the four in the ravine. This forced the terrified and possibly injured hikers to cut their way out and flee. The darkness and blizzard conditions led to them becoming separated and ultimately freezing to death. But does this official explanation really solve everything? Does a small avalanche explain why experienced hikers didn't just dig out their tent, which was their only hope of survival? Does it explain the missing tongue, the radiation, or why they walked calmly away from their camp? The mystery of Dyatlov Pass remains open in the minds of many, a chilling testament to the unknown forces that might lurk in the world's most remote corners. Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this dive into the unknown, be sure to subscribe for more mysteries.